What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and listen to Senator Durbin. He's going to be talking about this Build Back Better bill, okay, or this version of Build Back Better. I still think they need to come up with a name. They need to come up with a name fast. Something that focuses on lowering prescription medication, because that is one of the main goals of this large bill that they're trying to get through before the midterms. Okay. Now, I've had some people ask me, or some people make a comment as far as they're just trying to buy votes. The senators and the Congress people are just trying to buy votes by creating this bill. And you are correct. They are trying to buy votes when it comes down to it. But I want to ask you the harder question. So at the end of this video, we're going to talk about that, talking about buying votes. Is this the right thing to do? Are you okay with the fact that they're trying to buy votes? So we're going to talk about that at the very end. But first, we're going to watch this video, and then we'll talk about what's going on and kind of what Congress is doing. Now, we know the Senate returns today. Senate returns today. The House returns tomorrow. So they'll be in session this week, which means that we're going to see some action moving forward this week. We're also going to see the CPI score. And so the Consumer Price Index comes out on Wednesday. That's very important when it comes down to inflation. We're going to find out the numbers from last month. And so we're going to be focused on that. And so we have a very, very busy week ahead of us. So let's get started with this video. But first off, on this channel, we talk about money and the financial struggles that Americans are facing today. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so as always, I just want to remind you guys, we're doing premieres on this channel. And what that means is when I play the video, the first time that the video is aired, you can come in the chat and we can talk. Okay, you can ask me questions. We can just talk about different topics. And so make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell notification, and you'll get notified prior to me doing the premiere. So you'll know, and you can sit down, get your popcorn, whatever you want to do, sit down and watch the video with me in the chat. We can go back and forth. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look and a listen to Senator Durbin talking about Build Back Better, or this bill that they're going to be focused on. Now, I'm going to play the whole clip. And part of the clip is he's going to be talking about different things, gun reform, things like that. But I like to play the clips as much of the clip as possible, because I don't want people to think, oh, well, you cut out this part or you cut out that part. Why did you do that? So when they're doing interviews, when these senators are doing interviews, I like to play the whole clip. Or when politicians are doing interviews, period, I like to play the whole clip. That way you see exactly what they're talking about. And sometimes when it comes down to it, some of the things that they talk about, it correlates with some of the things that they talk about later, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look and listen. Here we go.
Joining us now from Illinois, Dick Durbin, the number 2 Democrat in the United States Senate. Senator, welcome back to Fox News Sunday.
Good to be with you.
Lawmakers passed the first gun reform package a month ago, first significant gun reform in 3 decades. And yet this week, your beautiful state was rocked by a mass shooting in Highland Park. Sir, do you see any appetite for additional legislation, whether it be on guns or other root causes?
Well, I certainly hope so. I hope that my colleagues will take a look at what happened in Highland Park. It's less than a week ago, and what happened that day, of course, 7 people were killed, scores were injured by a killer who got on top of a building and took a military weapon, now Smith & Wesson military and police weapon, and fired off up to 90 rounds in just a few seconds. People were scattering and running, and sad things happened. We found a 2-year-old who was protected by his father's dying body, and he was finally reunited with his grandparents because he lost both his father and his mother to the shooter. This week we had good news. An 8-year-old who was hit by this killer is starting to speak again. He's coming out of critical condition. Whether he'll walk again is anyone's question at this point. The question we have to ask ourselves, and I'll ask my colleagues, is this what we want in America? When people, families bring out their kids for a 4th of July parade, that some killer can take a military-style weapon and fire off 90 rounds into a crowd of innocent people and killing so many others? I just don't think that that's consistent with America's values or its Constitution.
Senator.
Now, I mean, this is a tragedy, and let me come to my main screen here. This is a huge tragedy when it comes down to what we're looking at with gun violence, and this is not just mass shootings. We're just talking about overall gun violence is at an all-time high, and it's very interesting when you're in another country. When you're in another country and you're talking to people in that country. It's interesting to hear their perspective on the whole thing. They don't understand. They don't understand the U.S. They don't understand why we have so many guns in the U.S. And so when these tragedies, and I watch the news every day. I watch the local news in the U.S. and every day we're hearing different stories, or we're hearing part of the same story of a mass shooting, and it's a tragedy. It's something that we need to figure out. We need to figure out what's going on, how we can get this to a point. And I don't have the answers when it comes down to it, but we need to figure something out, because this is something that has become a normal activity in the U.S. and it shouldn't be. It's not like that all over the world. We saw in South Africa, I think they had a mass shooting a couple of days ago. But when it comes down to the vast majority of the rest of the world, they're not dealing with that. I'm in Colombia now. They're not dealing with mass shootings, okay? So, like I said, I don't know the answer, but when it comes down to it, something definitely needs to be done. And let's just hope we can figure things out. Now, will Congress start taking up new bills on gun reform? They just passed one bill. And I think for right now, they're probably going to focus. I mean, they're going to focus on some of these other issues. OK, they need to focus on Build Back Better. And that's what he's going to be talking about next. But this is something that is still kind of there. It's still Congress is still looking at this, and they might want to make some different types of reforms when it comes to gun safety. And you heard Senator Durbin talking about the fact that this person that was using this assault rifle was able to shoot 90 rounds in a matter of seconds. I mean, just think of how devastating that can be. 90 rounds in a matter of seconds is just, I mean, it's just crazy. So let's go ahead and we're going to move forward, but he's going to talk a little bit more about the Build Back Better and how they want to move when it comes to that. But like I said, I wanted to play the full clip so you guys can see exactly what this politician is talking about when it comes to a variety of different issues. Here we go.
The suspect in this week's shooting evaded your state's red flag laws. Is there a loophole there to be closed?
Well, certainly. And if you look across the nation, we have to be much more vigilant, because there are over 10 million of these military assault weapons that have been sold. Some say as many as 20 million. Mm-hmm. There are 400 million guns in America, and some are arguing we need more guns in the hands of more people. It certainly hasn't made us a safer nation. We've had over 300 mass shootings this year. I didn't know when we took this 4th of July break that Illinois and my state would be touched personally, as it has been in Highland Park. But ultimately, every senator, sadly, every senator has to face the prospect they'll have their own Highland Park before this is over.
To be fair, though, if it were just about gun laws, wouldn't Chicago, with some of the toughest gun laws in the country, be a safer city?
Let me tell you something quickly. Highland Park is not Chicago. It's a suburb of Chicago, a small town, a great small town. It's the first place you would have chosen to go to a 4th of July parade with your son or grandson or granddaughter. It's a wonderful community. And to say, oh, Chicago is so dangerous. Yes, it's dangerous, but so is St. Louis. And so are towns, Jackson, Mississippi, and others have a murder rate as well. It's a fact that we've proliferated so many guns. The police that I sit down with privately on a regular basis say, Senator, you just don't have any idea how many guns are out there. And they're so easily accessible. The gun industry's made a lot of money out of this, but America is not safer because of it.
And let me be clear, I want to express my heartfelt condolences to the people of Highland Park and, of course, to you, sir. Let's talk policy on Capitol Hill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is having conversations with your colleague, Senator Joe Manchin, trying to do a slimmed-down version of Build Back Better. What's the nature of those conversations? Take us inside the conversations and what's left to be ironed out.
The centerpiece, of course, is high prices, the prices of prescription drugs. And even before this period of the economy, American families all responded that the price of prescription drugs are just too high. People sometimes can't afford the medicines they need to stay alive. They wonder why the same drugs made in America cost a fraction of what we pay for them in countries like Canada and Europe. And they wonder why we haven't done anything as a nation to bring down the cost of prescription drugs. The Democrats, Chuck Schumer, and all of us are working toward bringing down these prices. To say to people who are facing insulin-dependent diabetes that the cost of their drugs and insulin will be less than, not more than $35 a month. Mm-hmm. Dramatic changes, bringing down prices that families struggle with every single day. Now Senator McConnell has stepped up and saying, I'm going to stop this effort to bring down prescription drug prices. I don't want you to do it, and you shouldn't do it. And if you persist in this effort to try and do it, I'm going to stop the bill that gives us better competition with China. The semiconductor industry is central to economic growth and job creation in this country. We've lost ground on it, and we've got a bill to change that. McConnell has said he's going to stop that bill, and he's going to do it if we should violate the pharmaceutical companies' plea to us not to lower prescription drug prices. The bottom line is this: American families need help in paying their bills, and they need help in life-saving drugs being affordable. The Democrats are leading that. Senator McConnell opposes it.
Okay, now this is very, very important. So I want to really talk about this. He's talking about two different bills. He's talking about this the CHIPS bill, CHIPS Act. Basically, we saw there was a huge problem when it came to manufacturing these chips that you use in computers and you use in cars. And so we saw the price of those items as well as all the other items going up because there was a shortage of these chips. And so in this CHIPS Act, and I'll get more into the CHIPS Act in the future, but in this bill, they want to address the fact that we have a shortage and try to beef up the manufacturing of these chips that we need. So that's one bill. That bill would need, because it wouldn't be a reconciliation bill, it would need at least 60 votes in the Senate, which means you need all 50 Democrats as well as at least 10 Senate Republicans. Now, that's one bill. And the other bill they're talking about is this Build Back Better bill, okay? This version of Build Back Better, lowering prescription medication, that's that second bill. That second bill, they want to pass through reconciliation. But what's going on is Senator Mitch McConnell has said, you know what? If you want to go forward with this reconciliation bill, then we're not going to move forward with the CHIPS bill, okay? So the CHIPS bill is necessary because it would really attack this issue of inflation, because now prices will start to drop because of the fact that you can manufacture more chips. And so he will block the CHIPS Act or this CHIPS bill if they want to move forward with the reconciliation bill. Okay, they want to move forward with the lowering prescription medication and all that. And so that's where we are right now. That's kind of the struggle. And I think right now, Senator Mitch McConnell understands that if they were to get this bill through, this Build Back Better bill, and it lowered prescription medication, that bill might be something that would hurt Republicans in the midterms because of the fact that we're looking at lowering prescription medication, which I think the vast majority of the American people would be for. And so I'm thinking that he is trying to stonewall here. He's trying to say, look, we're not going to move forward with this chips. The hope is, and this is bad to say, but we have to look at strategy here. The hope is if they don't address the chip shortage, then that would mean that inflation would go even higher. And there are some politicians, Senator Mitch McConnell won't admit it, but he's one of those politicians that would say, you know what, we want inflation to go even higher because it would help us in the midterms. Okay, so the fact that you're paying more would help in the midterms get him back to where he wants to be as far as the majority leader in the Senate. So that's what we're looking at, and that's the argument right now. You have two bills, the CHIPS bill as well as this Build Back Better version of a bill, and that's kind of how the strategy is going with Republicans right now. Republicans have still failed to come up with a plan when it comes to inflation, fighting inflation. But the only thing is they're saying, no, we're not going to move forward with this CHIPS bill. Okay, let's go ahead and get back. Here we go.
There are Democrats right now pressing for structural changes to the United States Supreme Court. Here now is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Congress, we have the possibility when we are strengthened by the repeal of the filibuster, or even the change to a talking filibuster or standing filibuster, in doing so, we can codify Roe, we can codify, and all of the other cases that the Supreme Court indicated that they would threaten. We can codify same-sex marriage, we can codify the right to contraception, we can codify interracial marriage, we can do it.
Is she firing up the base that major changes are coming when, in fact, you don't have the votes in the Senate?
Well, I can tell you that the bottom line is she wants to change the filibuster rule when it comes to voting rights and other issues. I support that. I think that we ought to make exceptions to the 60-vote requirement when we get down to fundamental questions like this. And it's really up to the senators who are currently serving, the 50 Democrats. Mm-hmm. 2 of them decided not to vote with us on one of these rule changes earlier. Whether they've changed their position on that since the Supreme Court handed down this decision, taking away the constitutional rights of Americans, I don't know, but I'll be asking them next week.
As chair.
Okay, so changing the filibuster rule, I'm going to talk about this just very briefly. So you heard Senator Durbin talking about the 60-vote rule, right? So basically, in order to move forward with a bill, to open up a debate, you need at least the procedural vote. You need at least the 60 votes, right? And so that would mean, since you have 50 Republicans and 50 Democrats, you need 10 Republicans, okay, to move forward with any bill. Okay, and unless they do reconciliation, they need that. If they don't get the 60 votes, the Republicans are, it's pretty much now it's an automatic filibuster. But what she was saying, which I agree with, you should have a physical filibuster. You can change the rules. You can still have a filibuster, but it has to be physical, which means these politicians need to stand on the Senate floor and talk for 8 hours, 10 hours, 16 hours, 24 hours, however long they need to continue to talk. And then once they're done talking, that's when you can move forward with the bill. Okay, so physically they have to do something in order to keep this bill from moving forward. And that's what they've gotten away from. So you can still have the filibuster, just make it a physical one. Make them have to stand there. If you really want to fight for something, then you're going to stand there for hours on end, not using the restroom, not leaving to do anything. Just continue talking and talking and talking. And that's what the filibuster should be all about. And so that's all she's saying there. Change the rules when it comes to the filibuster. That way they can move forward with some of these bills. That a good example is the CHIPS bill that I was just talking about. Okay, if you are opposed to the CHIPS bill, let us know why. And if it takes 16 hours or 24 hours to tell us why, then go ahead and do that. But make it physical. Don't make it just a filibuster where, oh, we didn't get the 60 votes, so we're just going to move to the next bill. No. We want to know why you oppose it. Not only do we want to know why you oppose it, we want you to fight for the fact that you oppose it. We don't want you to take the easy way out by just saying we didn't get the 60 votes, so let's move forward with something else. We want you to stand on the Senate floor and explain why you don't want this bill. Okay, here we go.
Chairman of the Judiciary Committee, what do you say to progressives calling for impeaching some of the conservative justices?
I don't think it's realistic. I can tell you there is, in my mind, a clear conflict of interest when it comes to Justice Thomas and issues related to the January 6th insurrection. His wife is actively involved politically, going so far as to give direct advice to the President's Chief of Staff during this crisis. I would think that Justice Thomas should recuse himself from any decisions that relate to the January 6th episode. Already he was a single vote earlier on a case related to that issue. I think it's a mistake. As to whether he's going to be impeached, that is not realistic, but he should show good judgment. If this court is going to be credible, it has to be as apolitical as possible. Exactly the opposite has been happening.
Senator, a lot of headlines this week about Democratic governors, including your own, J.B. Pritzker of Illinois. Do you think gridlock here in Washington could potentially create an opening for one of these Democrats to challenge President Biden in 2024?
Well, I'm not looking ahead 6 years. I'm looking ahead to this week and whether we can come together, Democrats and Republicans, and get something done in Washington. Bring down the cost of prescription drugs. Deal with this issue of semiconductor chips, which has frozen economic expansion in this country. Let's get this agenda underway. And the election in just a few months will take care of itself, and the 1 years off is certainly over the horizon from my point of view.
Okay, so that was Senator Durbin talking about a variety of different topics. But the main thing that I want to focus on is this Build Back Better bill that they're trying to move forward with. So we'll see. We'll have more information this week as far as how they want to move forward, if they're going to be able to move forward with reconciliation. Hopefully we'll find out more details when it comes to how the negotiations are going between Senator Schumer and Senator Manchin. Senator Schumer might be out of the game for a couple of days because he did test positive for COVID. So that's something I'm sure they can still talk over the phone, but when it comes down to it, he's probably in isolation at this point. Now, I want to talk about the politicians trying to do things right now before the midterms, or they're trying to buy votes, or however you want to look at that. And you have people that say it's wrong. I can't believe they're doing this. They just want our votes. And you can look at it one of two ways. And the way that I look at it, and let's be honest, politicians do this. That's the name of the game, right? They want to get reelected. In order to get reelected, they need to show results. And a lot of these politicians will wait, and they'll wait right before an election, and that's when they'll try to put out all these different proposals and get these bills passed. Well, the way that I look at it is get it done. If you're getting things done, get things done. And that doesn't mean you're buying my vote. That doesn't mean I'm going to vote for you. But I do want there to be some pressure. And now politicians are feeling the pressure, and I think that's a good thing. So now they're saying, hey, we need to get this done. This Build Back Better style bill, we need to get it done. And if the pressure's there, that's a good thing. That's all I want to say about that. But I do want to know what you guys think about that. Do you think it's okay that they're out there trying to get things done because they know that it will affect the midterms? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.